You're watching PMA Perspective, a statewide source for business, government, and policy news. Bringing you newsmaker interviews with Carl Moreira. The final word with Mr. Fred Anton. And from our studios in Harrisburg, here is your host, David Taylor.
Welcome to PMA Perspective, your weekly half-hour news program on Pennsylvania business, government, and politics. I'm your host, David Taylor, president of the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association. On this week's program, we'll feature an interview with State Representative Mike Tobash on workforce development issues in our Commonwealth. Recent legislation, sponsored by Representative Tobash, allows educators to get continuing education credits for touring local manufacturing facilities. PMA Perspective was on site to capture one of those tours at Solar Industries, a national leader in specialty windows, doors, and glass structures that employs 160 hardworking Pennsylvanians in Schuylkill County. Let's take a look.
Today's program comes from the result of Act 168, which is legislation that enables teachers and administrators from public schools to get professional development credits for visiting manufacturing facilities. Once the implementation became effective, we reached out to all of our school districts. We started by offering a meeting for all the superintendents in our legislative districts right here at Solar Innovations to introduce the program and talk about how schools might implement it. And we talked about how teachers as a whole and a school district can come into manufacturing facilities and visit, or how groups of teachers or individual teachers can form relationships and network with manufacturing facilities and their employees to bring advanced curriculum into their classrooms.
Unfortunately, I do hear a lot from schools when we bring them here that they're unfamiliar with our organization. They weren't aware that manufacturing is more technologically advanced than what they thought, that our type of organization has so many different types of positions available. Sometimes in myself growing up, I've always felt that manufacturing was dirty, it was manual machines, and I think we're completely different than that. We're able to show that there's a lot of technology involved, a lot of attention to detail, a lot of creativity in manufacturing, and just a wide array of positions.
We are here visiting local industries and business around the county to get a better understanding of what it is that they do, and ultimately what we can do better to prepare our students upon graduation and even while they're still in school, so that they can hopefully find work if they're choosing to go to a trade school or just something right out of school, to keep them in our county and provide lifelong learning skills to help our industries flourish into the future. This has been a phenomenal experience just in the short little time that we've been here. It's amazing. The space, the amenities, the opportunities. This isn't anything what I remember from 30 years ago. When I was in school, you talk about industry, and what we've experienced from hearing the presentations, being industry being dirty, being industrial, this is far from that. This is high technological skills that our students would love to have an opportunity.
We predominantly work with aluminum products in the fenestration industry as well as in the structure industry. So fenestration consists of windows, doors, folding, sliding, those types of products. Structures would be skylights, greenhouses, conservatories, and sunrooms. The more word you get out to the local businesses, the better. I know we're also working on some apprenticeship programs too with the local schools as well, so it's a goal in the future.
Actually, a very unique situation. My son is in carpentry at Votech, and I'm here going, oh my gosh, this would be a great place for him to intern and to get a job in the future. So yeah, I'm thinking about him, and I'm also thinking about my own students and how they could benefit from this type of an environment to go into after they have their skills developed properly.
One of the first things I heard when I took on the role of district policy director was from manufacturing facilities. And what they were asking is, how can we bring teachers in schools together with the manufacturing facilities so we can help more people learn about the opportunities available in our community. There are very high-tech, modern manufacturing facilities right here in Schuylkill County that are looking for people to take on their jobs. And the jobs are good-paying, family-sustaining jobs that have the opportunity for growth and further education. So they're good jobs that can sustain people over a career.
It was different than I thought it was going to be. I thought that we would be, it would be very specific to education. And I feel like it was more of just showing us what they do and then allowing us to sort of use our minds to think of, okay, how can we take what they do and somehow help our students become better at the skills that they need here. Generally, in services are us sitting there being lectured at and we're trying to learn, whatever they're trying to lecture at us, we're trying to think how we can implement it, but at the same time, we don't have anything to work with, so we're just kind of thinking, okay, well, if I had all my stuff here, maybe this would help me, but I'm just sitting here in a room with a pencil, and so I need to go back to my room and figure out how I'm going to use it. The last presentation we just had, where they kind of explained to us the process of start to end with these greenhouses, that is where I actually thought to myself, okay, I have an idea now of something I can do in a classroom.
Normally, our professional development has to do with what we do in our classrooms every day, or in technology. But this type of experience is to see what's really out there in the real world. What are the experiences that our kids may need to get careers, and to maintain them over a longer period of time. And there is a disconnect, I think, between education and the job market. Myself, I actually started not as an educator, but as a chemist, so I worked in the real world for a while. But and a lot of my family work in manufacturing and things like that, so I knew of things that are out there, but not to this extent. Okay, and this opened my eyes a little bit more about what's really available.
The reaction by public school teachers that have taken on this program has just been incredible. Very positive. Very focused on affecting change and implementing and making connections in their classrooms with information they've learned on the manufacturing chores. When we first did a tour with the North Schuylkill Area School District, the reaction on their written surveys was this was the best professional development we've ever done. Today, when I was at SAPA, listening to their presentation, teachers are raising their hand and asking incredibly engaging questions that tied what they do in their classrooms with the work that people were doing in the manufacturing facility. Teachers work so hard to do the best they can for their students, and this is just one more opportunity that teachers can now use in order to continue doing the amazing work they already do in their classrooms.
Another great program that helps bridge the gap between employers, educators, and students is the Challenge Program. PMA's Carl Morera was on site at the Somerset Career and Technical Center to get a first-hand look. Carl?
There are about 9,000 manufacturing jobs on plant floors that remain vacant because employers simply can't find employees to train to fill those positions. Couple that with the fact that nearly half of all the manufacturing workforce in Pennsylvania is within a few years of retirement, and Pennsylvania's workforce gap problem is quickly becoming a workforce gap crisis. We're here at the Somerset County Technology Center, where we're going to take a look at the Challenge Program, where they're connecting business and education to tackle this crisis head on.
The Challenge Program focuses on high growth industries, and we're really looking at the industries that need a workforce. And so because of our connection with business and education, we felt that we were a natural fit to help both of those entities so that we could introduce students to the career opportunities that are going to exist not only today but in the next 5 years.
Part of the reason that you're here today is to bring light to the shortage of skilled trades. That's something that anyone who's a manufacturer has been dealing with for several decades now. The advantage for us is that through the Challenge Program, we get to get the message out to students and educators and hopefully parents in this region to let them know that there are opportunities here right in the county and statewide, that there are job openings for things that we teach here.
Well, the Challenge Program, we recognized that the parents, were a target audience for us to change the perception of the careers that are available for their students, for their children now and in the future. And so last year we created something called a Polytechnic event, where it was focused specifically on parents, to bring parents in, to have parents and students to recognize the career opportunities that exist right in their own communities that may not necessarily require a four-year degree. Good family sustaining wage jobs.
In fact, in a study published by the Manufacturing Institute in late 2015 in conjunction with the Educational Research Center of America and Skills USA, it was published that 64% of high school students report the greatest influence on their future careers is their own experience and interest, followed by 22% influenced by their parents or guardians, and 11% of students were mainly influenced by their educators. The charge from this report was clear: offer students greater opportunities to experience manufacturing and develop familiarity with the industry. This is where organizations such as the Challenge Program are so paramount.
This is my 10th year here at the Somerset County Technology Center, and the Challenge Program is a great incentive for our students here. And we're very pleased to have an industry sponsor. Our industry partners are very important to our Career and Technology Center, and having Riggs Industry be our sponsor is an honor. And it's a great thing for the students. It gives them some initiative, something to reach for, and a goal to set for themselves.
Across the Commonwealth, I don't know if there's a single manufacturing company that has not had a problem filling skilled positions. The shortage of trained workers is well documented, and it's been ongoing for a number of times. What the Challenge program allows us to do is not only to get the word out to parents and educators and students about the opportunities that we have, but frankly, it also puts us in a more competitive position. Let's face it, there's other employers right here in the region that are looking for the same graduates that we are. We're hoping that in one way, when our participation is able to influence these students, to give us a second look when they graduate school.
And Sean is absolutely correct. In a recent study by the Manufacturing Institute, 80% of manufacturers report difficulty in finding skilled workers. They also found that the hardest jobs to fill are those that have the biggest impact on that company's performance.
Well, what have we been telling our kids now for 2 to 3 decades? That the only way you're going to be successful is to go to college, get a 4-year degree, and work in an office. And for the first time probably in history, students have listened to their parents, and they've turned their back on the skilled trades. The result of that, plenty of openings, great paying jobs, but a chronic shortage of workers able to fill those jobs.
I believe that students, as well as some of their parents, do not realize the job opportunities that exist today. They're very different than the job opportunities that existed 10 or 15 years ago, and we are trying to make sure that these students, along with their parents, understand that there are good family-sustaining wage jobs available right in their own community.
We have 15 programs here at the Technology Center, and all students will be here for the assembly, hoping that they have had a chance at winning one of the prizes. And of course, it'll introduce the Challenge program to our new students, our sophomores, so they can set that goal to hopefully win one of these awards while they're here.
We see educators telling us all the time that they see an increase in students in their competition and community service, rushing to turn in their community service forms and seeking out opportunities to serve their community, being more conscious of their grades so that they know that they're in the running for one of these awards. It may be a small cash incentive, but it really is a motivator for students.
There are students that are in this program that have achieved things because of the incentives that are available through them that may not have otherwise done so. So seeing that change is something that's very gratifying, and frankly, meeting somebody 2 to 3 years after they graduate in a store, during an interview at work somewhere, that the reason why I chose that field or the reason why I'm working at your organization is because of your involvement with the program. So it's nice to see that return for your effort after a few years.
Well, I won the Challenge Program Award for STEM, and the cash prize of $200 was provided by the Riggs Industries, and I can't thank them enough for that. If you were to ask me my freshman year what I wanted to do in college, I probably wouldn't have really had a solid answer for you. But whenever I heard about the pre-engineering drafting and design class here, I thought to myself, this seems like something I would enjoy. So I gave it a shot, and I just absolutely love it.
The Challenge program will partner with hundreds of career and technology centers throughout Pennsylvania in this academic year. To learn more about their program and to have them visit a school near you, visit tcpinc.org. Reporting for PMA Perspective, this is Carl Marrera.
State Representative Mike Tobash, thanks so much for taking time to be on the program.
I appreciate very much being on the program. Thank you, David.
Well, our focus today is on an issue area where you have taken a special interest: the skills gap, workforce readiness, the job training, the sort of workforce development issue. And from the research that you've done, from real-world examples in your district, what is the nature of the challenge that we face today in Pennsylvania?
So it's a great question. I think that being elected to public office gives you the ability to see an awful lot of things from different angles, a different perspective. And one of the things that immediately occurred to me after entering office is that our job creators, right? And we often talk about job creation, but they are ready, willing, and able to improve the employment opportunities in the Commonwealth. If it weren't for a lack of skilled workers, the ability to attract, hire, and maintain a skilled workforce continues to be this repetitive message that I hear from almost every job creator that I come across. So as you're out in the world campaigning and talking to constituents, and people talk about jobs, I can point to dozens of examples of businesses within the 125th district and now throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania that are really starved for a skilled workforce.
And this is the paradox. I don't think a lot of folks really understand that even at the same time as there are challenges with the unemployment rate, with workforce participation, there are a lot of jobs that go unfilled because employers cannot find the people with the skills to do those jobs.
Drive throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and you will see signs all over the place. I just drove on Route 125 in northern Dauphin County, and Metal Industries, a large employer in the area, has 3 huge banner signs in front of one of their facilities. You know, employees needed, starting salary $14 an hour, increasing to $16 an hour, bonuses available. So employers are looking within every avenue that they can possibly think of, including 10 by 20 banners in front of their facilities, letting people know that the jobs are there. And I think you're exactly right. When we talk about workforce development, you know, so many words that or phrases that we use become tired over a period of time.
Right, yes.
And I like to use the word educational focus right now. I think that we've got a great education system, but our ability to get that educational system, job creators, and government on the same page, that's where we have been really missing the mark. So you talk about some of the work that we've done. It's really that connection between job creators, education, and government that we can improve dramatically, in my opinion.
Because the challenge that you alluded to is that a large percentage of the incumbent manufacturing workforce is baby boom generation, and so you're talking about people who are in their late 50s or even past 60 who are looking to retire, in the next year or two, and unfortunately, because of that disconnect with the education system and the opportunities that are available, that employers they're going to be going off a cliff. They've got to find new folks right now.
So yeah, well, there's no question about it. There's an interesting statistic, Dave, that I had come across through this work. I think 2010 marked a year when that job creation, the manufacturing sector, and you can appreciate this, in the United States had grown by a whopping 10,000 jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now we have 300 million people. It's a very, very small percentage.
Right.
But let me tell you, it was the first time in 20 years that the sector had grown, and the ability and the desire of employers to reshore jobs exists right now because of so many global dynamics that are going on.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is that we have got to get a workforce here in the United States, here in Pennsylvania, that is willing to work and trained to do the jobs that are available.
Absolutely. And you take those skills with you. And so for someone who, for example, would be a welder, that those skills are very much in demand. They're very highly compensated. And because there's a universal need for that particular skill set, you can pretty much have your choice of the options that are available.
You're exactly right. I talk about education, about being successful, right? And I think that when you're in school, number one, you have to learn. Number two, I think that our education system needs to be geared towards showing people that you've got this desire to continue to learn, because things are so fluid in our economy. You do not stop learning and
Correct.
be successful today. And then the third thing is, if what you are learning and willing to continue to learn is valuable to someone in the marketplace and they're willing to pay for that, boy, that really gives you a leg up. And then the last thing, a willingness to work. I have to tell you that I support anybody that's got a willingness to work, and we've got to get back to that work ethic. A couple years ago, I was in Carbon County, and the head of their economic development agency got up and spoke first at a hearing, and she said, boy, we've got pretty high unemployment here in Carbon County. It was pushing 10% probably in 2011. It was a high number.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second group that got up were somebody from their vocational school up there, their technical school. And he said that we had just invested $20 million in the school, and we weren't getting students to come to the school. The third person that came up, and I know you're familiar with the business, it was KME Fire Equipment. The head of the Human Resource Department came up and said, we can't find people to work. You got high unemployment, a high-tech vocational school and a job creator that is looking for employees and you can't match those things, that's what we need to do better.
Well, and there's got to be, there's got to be a way forward because, not only, do we have the public school system, which is, one of the top spenders in America, about $15,000 per student per year on average across the Commonwealth, something north of $27 billion. But also we have, I think it's like $1.6 billion that we spend on job training, workforce development type programs. The problem being that a big chunk of that is federal funds, and that those things come with limitations on how they can be used, and so there's a considerable amount of money that is being spent, but it's fragmented. It's across multiple cabinet departments. It's dozens of programs. We don't have the power to rationalize it.
We do study after study, and I think and I've run into so many excellent programs. You know about the YES program, the Your Employability Skills program. That's Northeast Manufacturing brings that program to our schools. An excellent program. But we oftentimes, as government, go back and we say, well, we need to do another study.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you what we need to do is aggregate some of these great programs and bring them, the successful ones, into the school districts. And you brought this up before, and I neglected to mention the fact that we passed a bill a couple years ago. It's now Act 168. Governor Corbett signed the bill. It allows teachers, educators, to get continuing education credits, some of their professional development, by going into manufacturing facilities and see what they're doing. It shows how they benefit our local economy. It shows what skills they need. It shows the success that students can have by getting into today's high-tech manufacturing sector. It's not the same as it was before. I can't believe some of the facilities I've been in, the work they do and the products that they bring to market.
It really is astonishing, and that the high-tech jobs of the future are manufacturing jobs, and not just jobs, but careers. And that's part of the mentality that we need to change. As a state policymaker, what are the priorities that you're working on? Can you tell us about the things that you have in mind on how to address this issue?
So, we're talking about some of these things, and I think that delivering this act that is in place right now and making sure that educators have an opportunity to go into the workplace, and that we've got more autonomy within our educational system. I mean, the standardization of our educational system, one size does not fit all. Mm-hmm. And quite frankly, the economy, the marketplace, is far more fluid than what we can expect to be able to deliver on any set of standardized testing that we're doing right now. The teachers need autonomy, but they need to know what's available. I can tell you, I know I go back probably 4 years ago, when we started down this path. I asked the superintendents in Schuylkill County to come and do a tour of a facility, Solar Innovations, that's in southern Schuylkill County with me. And after the tour, when I did it a few weeks before that, I was amazed because I didn't know the products. I didn't know the work they did there. I didn't know the number of accounting positions that they had, and sales positions, and engineering positions, and welding positions. All the things that they were doing was really mind-boggling to me. And when I took the superintendents there, Stan Rakowski, who was the superintendent of Shenandoah High School, a school district who has since passed, he came up to me and he said, "Mike, who knew?"
Yeah.
And we have been fortunate enough now to convince some school districts to send their students into some of these facilities, and we get the same feedback. David, it goes like this: wow, this is 3.5 miles away from my house. I never knew it existed. If these jobs were here, I might be doing something different today.
Right.
That's the kind of feedback we're getting, and no one can sell the business like the business.
And I couldn't possibly agree more. And I'd also just make one further point to say that it isn't only material success. Although these are great careers in manufacturing, with wages and benefits that are above average, but also just, I think too often we lose focus on the importance of the dignity of work and the sense of one's self that can only come from earned success, and that we really do need to honor all honest work. And the effort and the dignity of each individual employee. And one of the elements of that stigma that you mentioned, Mike, is that somehow that by failing to, chase the 4-year degree, that you somehow are limiting yourself as a person, that somehow if you are a person who works, with your hands, you work in a manufacturing facility, you work in a skilled trade, that somehow that precludes you from being a learned person or a cultured person, and that nothing is further from the truth. Those opportunities with those careers, that they're rewarding in their own way, and that it would free you to be able to pursue your hobbies, to learn, to travel, all those things. It's like that's just one more myth that we need to put down hard, because it's dangerous and it's destructive and it's not true.
It's absolutely not true. I have to tell you, I have the highest regard for anyone who is willing to work. And the fact of the matter is that it is great work. I mean, look, there are so many people, so many students right now that are almost punished by the fact that we are delivering them into an academic curriculum when they're far better, more adept, and happier when they're using their hands.
Right.
So the ability to get up and I continue to talk about, but to earn, to learn these skills in the trades is terrific. And if you are willing to work, we need you. Our economy needs you. And I have the utmost respect for everybody who is working hard to bring home a paycheck and then do the best at raising their family and continuing a tradition that Pennsylvania has had in its past, but seems to be getting lost today. The ability to get up, work hard, earn a paycheck, and raise a family is the foundation of what makes our economy and our community strong, and we need to honor that. We need to honor it every day.
Well, absolutely, and that's the world I want to live in, and thank you so much for your focus on these important issues and working hard to try to make a difference right now. Mike, where can the viewers go to learn more about you and your office and the work that you're doing?
So I think the easiest place is reptobash.com. We've got a website. It's got our email contact information and our phone numbers as well. We like using the phone as much as possible. We like to talk to people directly, but if you're directed there, reptobash.com, I think it's the easiest place to start to get a hold of us.
Outstanding. State Representative Mike Tobash, thank you so much for being on the program.
David, thank you, and thank you for all the work you do for the economy of Pennsylvania.
Well, that brings us to an end of today's program, but next week we'll be back with a recap of Manufacturing Week with my interview with State Senator Kim Ward from Westmoreland County, the co-chair of the Senate Manufacturing Caucus. Until then, visit us at pamanufacturers.org to stay current on what's happening in your state capital. And for everyone here at PMA, thanks very much for watching. We'll see you next week.